So on a much less serious note, a fun fact about myself. So again, my name is Mario. My dad's name is Luigi. So I think I was destined to work with games. So let's get this thing started. So again, I'm here to tell you about how the top 50 apps are doing well with in-app purchase and what they're doing that the rest of us developers are not doing. So the first thing is to take care of the best customers. So at Amazon, we know a couple things about treating well our customers, but one thing that the top developers have learned is to take care of the best customer, so the big spenders. So the first one to identify players by their spending habits were, surprise, surprise, casinos. So they group these users based on how much money they will spend. So they define them minnows, for example. Minnows are the small spenders, which are basically the vast majority of users. It's like 98% of users. Then there are dolphins. Dolphins are actually making up to the 50% of your revenue. And then there are the big spenders. So the big spenders by casinos are called whales. These are actually a very small percentage of paying users. And if we look at the actual number, we're looking at the 0.1% of your users. But again, these people is actually responsible for a big chunk of revenue. But at Amazon, again, we have the customer as the center of the experience. So we don't really like to talk about whales or minnows. So we call them power users. So power users as a concept are not new. I think that the first time people started talking about power users was like in the 19th century. So who are power users? Power users are users which are really okay with spending a lot of money on things they love. So they are conscious of their desires, and when they find something that they really like, they are absolutely fine with spending a lot of money on this. So, and again, this is a behavior that is across a variety of industries, but again, we talked about power users even in apps. So what do they look like to Amazon App Store? What are the power users on Amazon? So we define a power user when they go over the threshold of $50 per month. But the cool thing is that actually we have evidence of an average of more than $200 per month by this average user. And I want to focus on the word average. This means there are people spending thousands of dollars per month on apps. And even though we have evidence of power users being pretty much in all of the 200 and plus countries where the App Store is available, we have noticed that there are bigger clusters of power users in US, Japan, UK, and Germany. So again, power users are everywhere, but if you want to really foster these power users, probably these are the countries where you should focus your attention. And again, I just said that power users know exactly what they want, where they want to spend their money in. And they are loyal. When they find something that they like, they just, and they're confident with spending money in that app, they just pour money in that one. So they're loyal to a very few apps. For example, in January this year, we saw that 80% of customers who spend $1,000 spend 75% of this or more in just 2 apps. So what are the top 50 apps doing, and what are they focusing their attention? How are they leveraging these power users, and what is a good way to leverage these power users? Well, first of all is to reward their loyalty. And how can you do that? Well, for example, you can offer special items just for them. We just said they are substantial spenders. If they like your app, they will be very confident with spending a lot of money in it. So what about providing exclusive items just for them? They could be very high-value items, items that you do not show to everyone. You just show them to them. And this will make them feel special. They will like your app, and they will see that you are actually providing them items which are specific just for them. So special and VIP exclusive are a very, very good way to do this. And another very important thing is to understand the connection with these users. So you really want to survey your users and to pay attention on where they're spending their money. So you can ask the question, why are they spending this money? If you can answer this question in your game, and there could be a variety of motives for these users, and each app is different, so you really need to understand why are they spending that much money in that particular item. If you can crack this dilemma, then you have the key to the heart of your power users, and you can foster this concept to provide even more items. And again, it's also very, very important to understand what does the user want? Do they want to stand out, or do they want to be part of a group? So, for example, I'm wearing an Amazon hoodie because, of course, I'm part of Amazon, but at the same time, I'm the only one wearing an Amazon hoodie because I like to feel special. So the same thing happens with power users, is do they want to be, to have the same powerful weapon that all the other great users have, so they can be at the same level and compete with all the others, or they want the special item, the special weapon, they make them defeat all the enemies and stand out as heroes of their communities. So it's important to crack this dilemma, and also it's very important to understand how to engage with these power users and where to engage with these power users. So at Amazon, we're very, very proud of this stat, is how Amazon App Store engages with big spenders. And the cool thing that we've seen, this is a stat that comes from Newzoo, is that compared to other App Store, power users are spending more money in Amazon. Actually, the 64% of mobile gamers spend money within Amazon App Store. And if you compare to other App Store, the percentage is very, very meaningful. So this is the first tip that I want to give you, is to take care of your best customers. Understand who they are, recognize their importance. Again, they're a very small percentage, but they're responsible for a big chunk of revenue. Reward them through special items and treat them as VIPs, and satisfy their emotional desire. Understand why they're making a purchase and then act in a consequence. Second one is to make easy to buy. And I cannot stress enough how important it is that you remove all the churns for the user to make a purchase through in-app purchase. So let's analyze what is the behavior of the user and what are the moments where we should focus our attention on. So early engagement is absolutely critical. We've seen that 18% of the entire customer value happens in the first 24 hours. So if you're not doing a good job of engaging and starting to engage with these power users into the first 24 hours, well, you're missing something. You're missing an important piece. But again, I also want to focus that if this is the 18%, well, there is another big chunk of revenue, which happens after the first 24 hours. So it's also very, very important to keep your customers engaged. You don't want also them to just come on your game, play for the first 24 hours, and just leave it there. The first thing that, again, early engagement is very, very important. 37% of customers who make a purchase, they make it on day 0. And we will analyze in a few minutes how important it is to train your users to make an in-app purchase. But it's also very, very important to keep them in the app. 48% of purchases happens within 1 hour after another purchase. So if you keep them engaged and train them and explain them how to make a purchase, they're very, very likely to make another purchase very soon. And again, it's absolutely critical to keep them engaged for a long period of time. 64% of revenue happens after the third order. 74, if you keep your user for more than 7 days, what happens after that is 74% of the total revenue that you can take out from this user. And if you have a user that stays for more than 30 days, well, pretty much half of the revenue happens after 30 days. So it's absolutely critical to have your user for a long period of time and to keep him engaged. Selection is also very, very important. if you have multiple items and you offer a huge selection, this is actually driving more revenue. The ARPU for paying users is much higher if you have more than 11 items in your catalog. And again, I'm not saying that you should provide all these 11 or 20 items to everyone. It's also important to understand that you can showcase some VIP items just to the power users. The high value and high revenue items, just to a selected few. And the 1.14% of your users will make 30% of your revenue. So again, keep in mind. Another very important reason to keep your user for more than 30 days, to keep your user for a long period of time, is that it is demonstrated, and from our own data, that after 30 days, the in-app purchase that loyal users do are 60% more expensive. So if you train them and if you explain how to make purchases, after a certain period of time, they will be confident with making other purchases, and they will probably purchase something more expensive. And another thing also is if you have a lot of price points, this might actually confuse your users. So you want to be very, very clear and to have very, very few price points to make the experience as easy as possible for your user. So what are the top grossing developers doing differently with in-app purchase? Well, to answer this question, the way that we have conducted this is through a cohort analysis. So a cohort is basically a group of users analyzed through behavioral analytics. This user usually shared an experience, and this cohort is usually limited in a time frame. And again, related individuals, they form cohorts. So make some examples. For example, people who had measles at age 9, or tall pilots that flew for United in March, or customers who make a purchase within 1 week of download. So in order to answer the question about in-app purchase, what we have done as cohort analysis is we've been looking at all customers who installed a freemium app on a specific date. And then we split it into 2 separate cohorts. The first one is people who have downloaded one app which is in the top 50, and then people who downloaded app not in the top 50. And then we compared the results within a 30 days frame. So as this is quite actually obvious by the fact that these top 50 apps are in the top 50. The top 50 apps are performing better in terms of revenue compared to the rest of us. So we had to answer another question. This question is, does the item quality alone account for the difference in in-app purchase transaction amount? Is this just the quality of the in-app purchase items? So let's see. This slide I think is probably the most important of the entire deck. Is the assortment by price point. So this is basically the space which is allocated by the total of the marketplace. So this takes into account all the games and apps. The space allocated for in-app purchase items. And as you will see, there is a huge cluster in the $0.99 and $1.99 in-app purchase items. But the revenue that comes from these items is much lower compared to the space that is allocated to that. And on the right side, we actually see that the most expensive items, well, they have very, very few space allocated for them, but the revenue that comes from them is much higher. So then we decided to look at what the top 50 apps are doing. And as you notice, the 2 columns are much more close. The delta is much shorter. And why is that? Again, as I said before, one thing that the top 50 apps have learned is how to promote more expensive items to the right people. So they actually allocated more space for the most expensive items. And this is actually generating more revenue for them. And also, they have a better way of showcasing the low price items. And this is the reason that for the $0.99 and $1.99 in-app purchase items, the revenue that comes from these items is actually much higher compared to the rest of the marketplace. So the take-home from this is that, first of all, you need to keep your customer engaged and engage with them very, very early. You need to maintain a healthy selection. The more items you have, the more selection you provide to your users, the more okay it will be for them to make a purchase. Limit the number of price points. Too many price points, it's confusing. And find a way to offer high-value items to the right users. The more space you allocate for higher value items, the better will be for your revenue coming from power users. Now, another tip is to optimize the experience. And this is, again, related to how you can make easy the life of your users, how you can guide your users to commit a purchase. The first one is to reduce usage barriers. So the first thing is that compared to 5-6 years ago, now a lot of users have multiple devices. And if they are power users, they, as I said, they love to play with the same apps again and again, which means that probably they will have the same apps installed on all their devices, being them on a tablet, on the phone, and maybe even on their TV. So it's absolutely crucial for you to integrate a synchronization system that allows your user to pick up in the same point where they left playing on another device. And there are a few ways to do that. You can, for example, use a game circle to do this. Another one is to reduce the time for your user to start a new match. So for example, here's Flappy Bird. In Flappy Bird, when you die, and honestly, I'm terrible at Flappy Bird. I suck big time at Flappy Bird. But you're literally one click away from starting a new match. This is absolutely crucial because if you have 3 steps, 3 clicks, and you're going back to the home screen, well, that's a drop point. This is probably a moment where your user will say, oh, Lisa, I have to do like 4 steps to play another match. You know what, I'll come back later. Another one is to encourage longer sessions. It's absolutely important that you tune your game in order to make it not too difficult, but at the same time, not too easy. If it's too easy, your user will get bored after playing for a while and will stop playing. If it's too difficult, well, they won't beat level 1 and they will say, oh, you know, I suck at this game, I'll probably move on. So talking about user activity, well, looking at this slide, you might think, oh, that's a good news. I mean, even for the top 50 apps, their behavior of their game is pretty much identical to mine. That's great. Well, if you take a closer look to this slide, you will notice that the user activity for top 50 is actually double compared to us. So it's 4% for the rest of us, for the non-top 50 developers, and it's 8% for them. So twice the activity is twice the revenue. And also, they're doing a much better job than us to have longer sessions. After 30 days, the average time spent in the game is, I think, 23 minutes for the top 50, and is 15 minutes for us. So it's 8 minutes more, and you can do a lot of stuff in 8 minutes. You can have more purchase, you can train your users on how to make purchase. So it's absolutely, absolutely critical. So another thing, and even this one, I cannot stress enough how important it is. You don't want your users to feel dumb. And you don't want your users to do the math also. So if you have multiple in-app purchase items, you need to be absolutely clear in what is the value of a more expensive item. So we have evidence that the catalogs that added, like for example, 25% bonus sticker or 100% bonus sticker, they raise an ARPU 75% over the store average, just by adding a creative with the calculation done. Another important one is to explain how to make a purchase. So tutorials. Tutorials are absolutely fundamental. The first thing you want to do is to explain how to make a purchase. So to do this, you can give strategies a lot of games are following is to provide free credits. If you add free credits, to make the first in-app purchase, you will train them on how to make the first in-app purchase. Or at the end of the tutorial, you can ask, okay, now you know how to make a purchase. Do you want to make another one? And the second step is to actually show them how to use the items that they have just purchased. So 2 tutorials, how to make a purchase and then how to use the in-app item. So in this example, for example, Cut the Rope has done a fantastic job of explaining how to use a consumable. It's absolutely important. The best one that we've seen from these showed 65% more repeat purchases, just because it's a no-brainer for the user to make a purchase. You show how easy it is and what's the value of making an in-app purchase. So optimize the experience, reduce usage barriers, tune usability, simplifying purchasing choices, explain how to buy items and how to use them. Absolutely important. Social engagement. So I will be very quick on this one because again, I think it's a no-brainer. We are now in a situation of this industry, of the game industry, where social engagement is a must-have. I don't think it's optional. It's something that you need to do. So pretty much everyone likes to do 2 things. The first one is to show off, to demonstrate that they're great at something. And the second one is basically they want to improve themselves. And if you add, for example, leaderboards or points or achievements, this will keep your user engaged. And they will, for example, share on social networks, I just finished level 7, so why don't you try to beat me? Or again, they will try to get new achievements for personal satisfaction. So achievements and leaderboards are must-have. It's something that if you're not considering, well, you're losing something. It's something that the top 50 give for granted, and all of them have. And this is pretty much it. Again, is a no-brainer. Let users share their activity, include achievement and leaderboards. The last one that I want to share with you today is to encourage advocacy. There are a few ways that you can do this. The first one is to directly engage with your users. So it is demonstrated by Apptentive that if you engage with your users, they will be 4 times as likely to continue using the app 3 months later. So engaging directly can be done in different ways. You can do it through messaging or through push notifications. Please be careful with push notifications. You also don't want to overwhelm your users through push notifications. So just use it when it's really valuable, when you think that you can provide something tailored for your user. That's absolutely, absolutely important. And then the last advice I want to give you today is to cultivate a fan base. So a fan base goes actually beyond your game. It's not necessarily just the app or the game. You can have merchandising, for example. Merchandising is in a great way to have your users, your power users even, to demonstrate their love for your game. But think about that. Every time a person is going around with the t-shirt with your game on it, they're actually an advocate on your behalf. Also, give them a way to express their love. For example, have them, there are some games that on their website offer the option to publish drawings or images created by their fan base to share the love. And this will keep them engaged. And first of all, it'll allow you to reach your customers. If you turn your users into advocates, well, this will basically spread the love about your app. Retain existing customers because you keep them engaged, and new revenue opportunities. Did I just say merchandising? Merchandising, well, you can make money out of it. So again, encouraging advocacy is absolutely important, and today we have a session dedicated to that, so please stay here until 2 p.m. And of course until the rest of the day, but in particular for this one, for a talk about monetizing when your app is even open. So what can you do beyond just your app? So let's have a quick recap. First of all, take care of your best customers. Take care of your power users. Make it easy to buy. Make a no-brainer to buy, and optimize the experience. Reduce usage barriers and train your users on how to make a purchase. Support social engagement, have them share what they're doing, and add leaderboards and achievements to keep your user engaged, and encourage advocacy to turn your users into advocates for your game. Next steps for you, first of all, add in-app content. So if you don't have, please do. Make your in-app content clear the value of your in-app content and provide items which are specific for your power users, and make it easy to buy. Optimize the experience and make it a no-brainer for your users. So that's it for today from my side. So again, please follow the short link and tell me how I did, and also this will give you an opportunity to get new fantastic Amazon devices. If you like this talk, you can find all the stats that I shared on this link, and also you can find more info about Amazon Underground. And please do follow me on Twitter. I'm on the other side of the ocean, but I still release a lot of content which is available for a lot of games and apps developers. So please do add me, and also follow me on our blog. And with this, I'm done. So thank you very much, guys.